This farm has 7 unique ponds and water harvesting elements, and it's one of the most innovative water systems that I've ever seen, where water's moving back and forth across the landscape for maximum percolation, restoring the watershed and making this a green paradise of productivity. But just a few years ago, this land had severe water shortages that were leading to degraded soils. But by creating a complex system that moves and stores water from the top to the bottom of the site, natural abundance has returned to the land. The water creates massive grass growth, meaning healthier soil and better grazing for livestock. It's been so effective that even the neighbors are joining in to expand the system, turning this into a watershed-wide movement. In this video, you'll learn about the 7 key water harvesting techniques that they use to completely transform the landscape into an abundant farm ecosystem.
The ironic part of this is I live in this little valley and there's just tons of seasonal streams and a creek, a watershed above me, but none of it was going in the ground.
That's the fundamental problem with degraded landscapes and poor soils with no vegetation. Even when it rains, the water rushes away and doesn't soak into the ground. But when you harvest water into ponds and earthworks, holding it and soaking it into the soil, then you have water stored above ground and you recharge a subsurface water table that can be sustainably withdrawn from.
I started doing my homework, researching water resiliency, and I found the work of Zach Weiss, Elemental Ecosystems and Water Stories.
My friend and colleague Zach Weiss of Water Stories, which is a community teaching and inspiring people all around the world how to restore water cycles, worked here with his team to develop the water harvesting and storage systems that have rehydrated this landscape.
The way these water bodies are built, they're really to recharge the water back into the earth and into the sides. And so we get this constant greenery, this vegetation, cooling, growth, and productivity.
Zach and I walked the property, came up with a plan together. We really tracked where the water was coming from. There's a huge bluff right behind my property that was clear cut, and this huge amount of water comes down that bluff into this creek, and it was just blowing out this creek. So first of all, Zach and I thought about how do we capture the water to slow it down at the head of the creek.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, let's go for a walk.
The first water harvesting technique is a sediment trap pond, designed at the top of the landscape to collect sediment and stop soil erosion caused by stormwater rushing down the sloped hillside behind.
So this is basically where it all starts?
Yes, it really provides a beautiful function. All above here you see that is the watershed above us, and it's catching all the soil that comes down that hill.
So you have a neighbor that went and clear cut all of these trees and created this erosion condition. This is like the shock absorber of your system.
It really is. It takes a beating.
By capturing the runoff, this pond prevents sediment and nutrients from clogging up the rest of the system below.
Agroforestry is one of the most important practices we need to adopt if we want to make our food system more resilient. But what actually is agroforestry? The way that we grow food right now is broken. We all know about pesticides in our food and the decreasing nutrient and mineral quantities of our fruits and vegetables, but many people are not aware of what's coming. Things are honestly way more precarious, and our food system is a lot more fragile than I think most people realize. Conventional agriculture is not ready for the next century, and honestly, this should scare you. But there's actually a lot of solutions. In this video, I'm going to talk about a very promising solution that's actually older than farming itself. It's been getting a lot of attention recently, but big corporations still don't want to use it. It grows healthier food, and it does so without fertilizers or pesticides. So get comfy and let's learn exactly what agroforestry is and why it just might be one of the most important solutions we have to fix our food system.
5 years, basically covering the farm with trees, like a wildland.
So for Alessandro, the plan is clear. Plant trees or close the farm. But how do we combine trees with farming? Agroforestry is just farming combined with trees. Agroforestry. But what's so cool about that? I'll explain how it works, but I'm kind of hot right now. Let's go to the shade. Whew, that's better. It's nice and cool and moist in here in the dappled shade of these trees. And that brings me to one of agroforestry's main benefits, which is water retention. This entire area, because it's shaded, has a higher moisture content in the air. And that also means a higher moisture content in the soil. So as soon as you integrate trees into your farming, you need to water less. So that's cool, but how do we actually do agroforestry? Well, on a conventional farm, you just get to plant one thing, like corn. But what if we remove some of this corn and planted a chestnut instead? And then maybe beside that, we plant an apple. And now suddenly we can grow some grapes up the trunks of these trees, and maybe we plant some blueberries underneath here. And then maybe on this side, we can plant a nitrogen fixing tree like an alder, so it's literally growing free fertilizer for us. And let's remove a row of corn and replace it with beans that also fix nitrogen, and edible nasturtiums, which help deter pests and are delicious. So now we're getting less corn, yeah, but we're actually getting more overall food out of the same space and using less fertilizers and pesticides to grow that. Okay, let me break it down. We're told that conventional agriculture is the most efficient system and it can produce the most calories per acre. So let's think about it and see if that's true. The first thing you need to understand is that a calorie is actually just a unit of energy. I never really thought about that, but calorie is just energy, like a watt or a joule. Okay, so conventional agriculture, the industrial model, outputs a lot of calories per acre. That's true, but, and this is the key part, it only achieves that kind of output with a tremendous caloric input into the system. In fact, and this is absolutely insane, industrial agriculture takes 10 calories of energy to produce 1 calorie of food. What's worse is that industrial agriculture also produces a ton of negative externalities. So saying that industrial agriculture is efficient is actually extremely misleading. It's actually an extremely inefficient use of energy, and it produces a ton of problems in the world that you and I are gonna have to pay for, while the companies that cause them get to reap huge profits. But agroforestry systems, they produce more output calories than they need as inputs. As trees in an agroforestry system mature, they require less and less inputs, and they produce more food every year as they keep getting older. So if you factor in the input calories, which you definitely should do if you want to paint an accurate picture, then agroforestry is actually more efficient than industrial agriculture. So why isn't agroforestry the norm? Well, simply put, it's because investors don't want farmers to grow food.